Hi everyone, this video is about the pancreas. The pancreas is an organ in the human body that's part of two systems, the digestive system and the endocrine system. In the picture on the left, you see the drawing of the digestive system, and the pancreas, the head of the pancreas is right there behind the stomach. And in the endocrine system, it's right here, this elongated structure. As you know, the responsibility of the digestive system is to receive food and then break food molecules into simpler forms so that it can be absorbed by the cells. Okay, what does that mean? So whenever we have a bite of food and it travels down from our mouth where we chewed it up, it goes into the stomach where it gets churned and broken down even more with stomach acid. But even whenever it leaves the stomach acid, it's still a very complex molecule. This is not a real molecule, but just showing you what my rendition of lots of atoms and chemical bonds together. Whenever it gets into the small intestines, it's kind of in this form. And what it wants to be is kind of in a very simple form so that it can be absorbed by the cells. This is where the pancreas comes in. It will help break down these food molecules into smaller forms so that they can be absorbed by the cells. For example, carbohydrates break down into sugars, proteins break down into amino acids. DNA and RNA break down into smaller nucleic acids, and fats break down into fatty acids. All this is done with pancreatic enzymes. The endocrine system consists of many glands, and these glands actually release chemical messengers. These chemical messengers, also called hormones, leave the gland, in this case the pancreas, and goes all throughout the body and goes to target cells, and it drops off the hormones, and the hormones will affect the way the cell behaves. So, an interesting side note, the pancreas and the thymus, another gland in the endocrine system, they are both edible, coming from other animals, and in the culinary world, they're called sweetbreads. Okay, so let's talk about the digestive system part of the pancreas. In this drawing, you have stomach. This is the first part of the small intestines, the duodenum. This green is a duct coming from the gallbladder. And this structure here represents the pancreas. This is a drawing of the blood vessels. So when we're talking about the digestive role of the pancreas, we're going to look at these yellow and blue structures in the pancreas. The yellow are cells, and they're called acinar cells. Acinar is also a term that's used in botany, and it refers to clusters of fruits like blackberries. So these look like blackberries on the vine. And these are each of the acinar cells here. The red dots in this drawing down here are the enzymes. Enzymes are chemicals that will act as catalysts in a chemical reaction. So remember the lots of bonds that were in a food molecule? Enzymes are the things that do the breaking and turn them into smaller molecules. These enzymes leave the acinar cells, like here, and it goes down the duct, the pancreatic duct. Also lining the duct are cells that release bicarbonate ions. So we've got enzymes here, and then the second thing is bicarbonate. And bicarbonate will neutralize stomach acid. Whenever the food comes into the stomach, it mixes with the stomach acid, and so you have an acidic substance coming into the duodenum, and you don't want that, so the bicarbonate comes and dumps in here along with the enzymes to digest and to neutralize. Also in this diagram, you see cells, or groups of cells, that are part of the endocrine role of the pancreas. These cells were discovered by a man named Langerhans, and they look like islands, or islets, which are small islands, so they're called islets of Langerhans. This is a more detailed representation of each islet. You have these islet cells, 90% of those are called either alpha cells or beta cells, and these represent the blood vessels. Remember, in the endocrine system, the glands release their hormones through the blood system, so we have to have some blood vessels there close by so it'll pick up the hormones. Okay, we talked about breaking down food molecules into smaller and smaller forms that can be used by the cells. The most important molecule used by the cell is glucose, and glucose is what's regulated by the pancreas. If you think about glucose levels in your blood, ideally, they stay even. If they're real important and every cell needs them, so you want to have a nice consistent level. Now, if you did not have hormones controlling this, the only thing that would regulate your blood glucose is what you eat. If you wake up in the morning and you don't have anything to eat, your glucose is low, and then you eat breakfast and it spikes up, and then it goes down again. You eat lunch and it spikes and goes down again. And you eat a nice candy bar in the afternoon, it spikes up real high. And then you eat supper, and then you go back to sleep and it goes back down. That is not ideal for your body, so the pancreas controls it. Okay, this diagram has glucose in the middle. And we're going to go through two different scenarios. One is whenever glucose level goes up. And why would it go up? Because you just had food, which makes your blood glucose go up. Whenever the blood glucose level goes up, the beta cells in the pancreas detect it, and they secrete insulin. And insulin, incidentally, comes from the Latin word for island. Okay, the insulin does two things in your body. First thing it does is it causes your body to store the glucose as glycogen. So I'm just going to write glycogen here. Glycogen. And the second thing it does is that the glucose goes into the cells. So if it's not in the blood anymore, it's in the cells or it's stored up as glycogen molecule, then the blood glucose level will go down and we go back to normal. Okay, now it's the middle of the night. You haven't had any food lately, so your food intake is down. Your blood glucose levels go down, and the pancreas figures this out by the alpha cells, and the alpha cells secrete a hormone called glucagon. Glucagon does two things also. The first thing is the opposite. As we said earlier, this will break down glycogen. So you are releasing the glucose into the blood. And the second thing it does is that it uses other food molecules that are not carbs, I'm going to put non-carbs, to make glucose, which also will increase the level of glucose in the blood. So we went down, we come back up, your body's happy. There you go. Okay, so two things that I wanted to give as an example that can go wrong with your pancreas. The first thing is a disease called diabetes mellitus. And if there's type 1 and type 2, let's just specifically talk about type 1. It's an autoimmune disease, and the pancreas stops working. Specifically right here. The beta cells stop working in the islets of Langerhans, so they don't secrete the insulin, and your blood glucose level is not able to be managed. That's one disease. The other one I wanted to talk about is back with the digestive system, and it's a disease called cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease, so it's a malfunctioning in the DNA. And in individuals with cystic fibrosis, they, among other things, will overproduce a very thick mucus. And that thick mucus gets clogged up here in the pancreatic duct. So what happens if this gets clogged? Well, these enzymes can't go. If the enzymes can't go here into the duodenum, the food molecules don't break down. So people with cystic fibrosis are at risk of malnutrition. One of the solutions for that is to take enzymes orally. So they swallow them. The enzymes are already in the digestive system, and they can help break down the food molecules. Okay, thanks for watching this video about the pancreas.